Welcome to A Line Through Time, where I take the time to look through your favourite franchises and work out how it all lines up. When we first covered the Resi timeline in 2019, Resi 2 Remake was the latest entry, and Resistance was on the way. I'm pretty sure 3 Remake wasn't even announced yet, so to quickly address those and make some corrections, Resident Evil 2 Remake is considered canonical as of Requiem's release this year, as I discussed in the recent Cannonball on the subject. This then also applies to the remakes of 3 and 4. The knock-on effect is that Operation Javier has been removed from the timeline, replaced by Krauser's new backstory from the remake. If you disagree with this conclusion, don't comment here. Go find an unrelated tweet of mine and leave 6 replies about how much you hate me and think I'm a casual because you're 14 years old. Why yes, that is a rather specific thing to suggest, isn't it? Resistance has a scenario more than a story, but it presumably is canonical to some extent, taking place during the Raccoon City outbreak. Also, the series' Japanese site put out a timeline of the games and CG productions sometime before 4make, which says Vendetta occurs in 2014, when I previously said it was 2016, which I think I got from the wiki, but then put 2015 on the timeline. No idea what went wrong there. And the wiki insists that Biohazard the Experience is set in 2015, but I cannot find where this information comes from. With that out of the way, let's discuss the new stuff. In May 2021, Resident Evil Village released, continuing the story of Ethan Winters from Biohazard. It sees Ethan venture into an Eastern European village where everyone has American accents to save his and Mia's daughter, Rose, to keep her from being used as a vessel by a mad woman who helped inspire Spencer's quest for godhood. It takes place in 2021 apparently. I don't recall the game giving any specifics, but the wiki says it's the case, and mainline entries usually try to take place in the year of release, so we'll go with that. The game received a demo named Maiden, which is technically a separate scenario from the game, centered on a village girl trying to escape Lady Domitresque's castle, and ultimately failing. It's clearly set before the main game, but whenabouts is unclear, presumably a very short time before. Village then received an expansion, Shadows of Rose, which picks up after the game's epilogue in 2037, making it the last event in the timeline as it currently stands, and likely won't be surpassed until we actually reach 2037 in the real world. Well, if. It follows a now adult Rose, entering the mental realm that binds all those infected by the mold, and defeating 7 and 8's main villains for good with some help from her father. Netflix then released a series simply called Resident Evil Infinite Darkness that same year. Fuck the other one. Designed to capitalise on 2make's success, it sees Leon and Claire reunite in 2006. Essentially, Claire uncovers a conspiracy surrounding bioweapons production which connects to an attack on the White House that Leon deals with. Their cooperation is minimal, sadly. Shit, I think they spend more time together in Death Island. Alongside this, a 5-issue prequel comic was released titled Resident Evil Infinite Darkness: The Beginning. It follows Leon dealing with another outbreak shortly before the show known as the Pittsburgh Terror Incidents. I can't find more info on the story, and the copy I tried to order wouldn't arrive until like June, so let's just move on. Death Island comes next, following on from Vendetta and taking place in 2015. It finally sees Chris, Jill, Leon, Claire and Rebecca team up to deal with some guy in Alcatraz who employs the one surviving villain from Vendetta. It's not as dumb as Vendetta, nor is the story all that interesting, but it's fun to see these characters teaming up and finally having Leon interact with Jill. In 2025, Capcom released Resident Evil Survival Unit, a base-building mobile game with gacha mechanics taking place in an alternate version of the Raccoon City outbreak. Clearly non-canon, but I'm mentioning it for those who only saw the ads and have no idea what the game's about. It's not very good. And finally, Resident Evil Requiem released just last month, primarily following Leon and Grace Ashcroft, daughter of Outbreak's Alyssa Ashcroft, in 2026 as they return to Raccoon City almost 3 decades after the bomb dropped. The game also has a flashback at the start set in 2018, detailing Alyssa's death and the start of Grace's trauma. There's also a segment set in 1990, following a clone girl at the Raccoon Orphanage, which is the new, earliest playable point in the timeline. They've also announced that they're adding some kind of minigame in the near future, which going off 7's DLCs could be some kind of canonical thing, as well as a proper expansion sometime later, though obviously we don't know when either is set in relation to Requiem itself. And that is where the series timeline sits at present. It occurred to me while writing that I shouldn't have split the remake discussion off into a separate video, since it leaves me with not much more to talk about. So I'll be including an older plan for a second timeline video where I would delve deeper into 7's tapes and explain the chronology of that game's events. Let's get started. The main events of 7 occur from the 19th to the 20th of July 2017, depicting Ethan's quest to save Mia from the Baker estate. 4 VHS tapes exist throughout the campaign that depict parts of the backstory. First is Derelict's house footage, depicting the Sewer Gators crew entering the house and being ambushed by Jack Baker, resulting in the death of Andre. It's dated June 1st, 2017. Second is Mia, dated July 19th, presumably taking place during Ethan's own time unconscious after being ambushed by Jack. It follows Mia trying to evade Marguerite Baker and sets up her imprisonment around the midpoint. Third is Happy Birthday, dated June 2nd, but actually unlikely to be accurate as we'll see later. This one depicts the death of Clancy, the Sewer Gators cameraman, and allows Ethan to avoid the same horrific end. The fourth and final VHS is the old videotape, which presumably only existed in Mia's mind during the ship section. This one depicts the sinking of the ship on October 5th, 2014, setting the stage for all that follows. Before the game released, there was the Get This to Polygon video, where Pete films a desperate plea after Jack's ambush, capturing his own, capture that leads us into the kitchen VR experience, which is actually a key part of the Sewer Gators arc as it depicts the death of Pete. These events are also depicted in one ending of Resident Evil 7 teaser Beginning Hour, a demo that gave a taste of the tone and gameplay of the full game, much like Village's maiden demo. This one, as far as I can tell, features an unnamed protagonist who is neither Clancy nor Ethan, who is held captive by the Bakers sometime after Clancy's time there, given the presence of the Derelict's house tape. Thus, it's somewhere in mid-2017. After the game launched, there was a slew of DLC content. First came the banned footage DLCs, featuring a series of tapes that continue Clancy's suffering. Nightmare is a wave survival mode set in the basement of the main house, with a redacted date that appears to be between the 10th and 19th, with the time here using a 24-hour format instead of the 12 the Sewer Gators crew used. Maybe an oversight, or maybe a sign that Lucas set this one up. Bedroom comes next, depicting Clancy escaping a bedroom prison around 5 PM on an unknown date, which is impossible given Happy Birthday takes place just after 1 AM on the 2nd, a mere 2.5 hours after his capture. And then 21 depicts Clancy playing a deadly game of 21 on the 3rd, 13th or 23rd. I'm sure you see the problem here. The possible explanations are: 1. Capcom just fucked up and didn't properly track the times and dates. 2. The DLCs don't star Clancy. The problem is that the text intros explicitly say this is Clancy, and Lucas refers to him by name in at least the 21 tape, so that's not it. 3. Clancy actually survives Happy Birthday and the charred corpse isn't him. Doubt. 4. The newspaper report on the trio's disappearance, claiming it occurred on the 9th, is canon, and the dates on the tapes are all wrong. This is actually a mistranslation, as the Japanese script says police were contacted on the 9th, not that their disappearance happened then. 5. The name banned footage is supposed to imply these aren't canon. But given the Daughters DLC is part of this and can fit into the canon with only a little bit of wiggling, it's hard to view this as being the case. For context, Marguerite's journal in the main game indicates that her corruption occurred over the span of weeks, while the DLC depicts it as occurring in one night. But there is a line at the end of the DLC about how Zoe's nights became a nightmare, possibly suggesting that the Bakers are themselves during the day and only under Evelyn's influence at night, but over the course of the next 3 years they become fully taken over by her will. Yeah, you can see why I wanted to do a dedicated video for this. For simplicity, I'll put them in this timeline in the order they're supposed to occur in, with a headcanon retcon that Happy Birthday is set weeks after Clancy's capture, wrapping up not too long before Ethan finds his remains in the main game. And this next tirade won't affect the timeline itself, but I have to get this off my chest. We're supposed to believe Clancy is taken by Jack, thrown into the basement which he escapes, is captured by Marguerite and put in the bedroom, then escapes through the secret stairs to the basement, then gets out to the yard and winds up in Lucas's clutches. Doesn't it make more sense for him to be put right in the bedroom, escape into the basement and find Jack's trap waiting, then survive that and escape into the yard? Especially with so short a time for Clancy to be here. That text intro to Nightmare is doing a ton of heavy lifting here. Anyway, Daughters depicts the night Evelyn and Mia are brought to the Baker home by Jack on October 10th, 2014, 5 days after the ship went down. After banned footage, we got more substantial DLC. Not a Hero follows Chris Redfield as he ventures into the mines in pursuit of Lucas Baker, mere hours after Ethan and Mia are evacuated. End of Zoe sees Jack's brother Joe take on his revived brother to rescue his niece in the weeks following the main game, serving as the big conclusion to the Resi 7 story. And now, the full Resident Evil 7 timeline goes like this. Old videotape on October 5th, 2014. Daughters on October 10th. Derelict's house footage, Get This to Polygon, and Kitchen on June 1st, 2017. Nightmare, Bedroom, 21, and Happy Birthday in the days that follow. Beginning Hour in late June or early July. Ethan's arrival and Mia on July 19th. The rest of the main game and Not a Hero on July 20th, and End of Zoe in the next couple of weeks. And that, finally, completes the Resident Evil timeline up to Requiem, featuring every piece of gameplay in the canonical series. As far as I know, all that's currently confirmed to be in the works are the Requiem DLC and whatever the next remake is going to be, because these things have been doing so well that even without an official announcement, we know there are more on the way. My money is on Code Veronica because Claire's been really underutilized recently, and it's arguably the one that most needs a rework, but remaking the full Wesker trilogy in order also makes a lot of sense. My list of Resident Evil video ideas really got a spark after Requiem, so look forward to more in the near future. If you liked this video, why not subscribe and support me on Patreon like these fine people here? You get early access to new videos for just $1 a month. If not, then make sure to share it with your enemies so they can suffer along with you. Today's recommended video is Resident Evil 7 Plot Holes and Inconsistencies by Fungo. It goes really in depth on the inconsistencies in the mold infection rates, even within just the main game. This is the video that brought the differences between Marguerite's journal and the events of Daughters to my attention.